Have you ever walked into a room and felt it, that quiet shift in energy? Someone goes a little cold. Conversations get shorter. Invitations stop coming. And the strange part? You can't point to a single thing you did wrong. No argument, no betrayal, no drama. You've been kind. You've been decent. You've kept to yourself and focused on your life. And yet somehow, somewhere along the way, certain people decided they didn't like you. And that feeling, that quiet confusion, it can sit heavy on you if you let it. You start replaying conversations, questioning your personality, wondering if something is fundamentally wrong with you. But here's what most people never tell you. Sometimes the people who pull away from you, who get cold, who gossip quietly or seem uncomfortable around you, they don't dislike you because you failed. They dislike you because of something you're doing right. Today, we're going to talk about 9 reasons why people may secretly dislike you, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And by the end of this, I think something is going to make a lot of sense to you. Reason 1, you are moving forward in life. Let's start with the most quietly powerful one. You are growing. Maybe you got a better job. Maybe you're saving money, getting healthier, reading more, building something. Maybe your life just looks more focused and intentional than it did a year ago. And on the surface, that sounds like something people should celebrate you for. But human psychology doesn't always work that cleanly. When someone in your circle starts moving forward, starts improving, it does something uncomfortable to the people who are standing still. It holds up a mirror they didn't ask to look into. They see your progress and feel the weight of their own stagnation. Not because you said anything, not because you looked down on them, but just by existing and moving forward, you became a reminder of what they're not doing. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the people who give you the least encouragement are the ones who know you the best? Old friends, childhood acquaintances, people who remember who you used to be. Because your growth challenges a version of the story they told themselves, that you'd stay the same. And when you didn't, something shifted. This isn't your fault, and it's not something you need to slow down for. Reason 2, you stopped chasing approval. There's a certain kind of person who, at some point in their life, just stops performing. They stop laughing at things that aren't funny just to fit in. They stop shrinking themselves to make others comfortable. They stop reaching out 10 times to someone who barely reaches back once. Maybe that person is you. And here's the strange irony of that. When you stop chasing people's approval, some people interpret that as arrogance, as coldness, as you thinking you're better than everyone. But that's not what it is. You just got tired of performing. You got tired of the emotional labor of managing how everyone else perceived you. When you stopped seeking validation, the people who only felt comfortable around you, because you needed their approval, suddenly feel unsettled. Your independence became a threat to the dynamic they were used to. Imagine someone who always had the louder voice in a friendship. Always the one giving advice. Always the one whose opinion mattered most. And then one day, you stop asking for that opinion. You stop needing the reassurance. What happens to their role? That quiet shift can create a quiet resentment. Not because you wronged them, but because you outgrew a version of yourself they preferred. Reason 3, you don't participate in negativity or gossip culture. This one is more common than people realize. In a lot of social circles, there's an unspoken bonding ritual that happens through shared negativity. Complaining about work, talking about other people, building connection through mutual criticism and gossip. And when you choose not to participate in that, when you stay quiet while others vent, when you change the subject, when you simply refuse to join in, people notice. And some of them don't like it. Not because you judged them, not because you said anything. Just by not participating, you broke the rhythm. You didn't validate the behavior. And that can make people feel quietly exposed. Think about a group lunch where everyone's complaining about someone who's not there, and one person just doesn't join in, just smiles and eats, doesn't criticize, doesn't pile on. That silence can feel louder than anything. People may call that person boring, distant, weird. But what they're actually feeling is uncomfortable. Because your non-participation reminded them of a choice they're making that maybe, deep down, they don't feel great about. Your refusal to add fuel to the fire doesn't make you cold. It makes you clean, and not everyone appreciates that. Reason 4. You became more calm and emotionally controlled. Emotional maturity is genuinely admirable, but it can also be unsettling to people who haven't found it yet. When you used to react, when you'd get flustered, anxious, defensive, or dramatic, you were relatable in a familiar way. People knew how to read you, how to predict you, how to push your buttons if they wanted to feel powerful. But when you develop genuine calm, when you stop reacting to bait, when you respond thoughtfully instead of emotionally, when you can sit in tension without exploding, something changes in how certain people experience you. Some see it as strength and respect it. But others, particularly those who are used to chaos, used to emotional reactions, or who sometimes provoke people deliberately, they find your calm frustrating. Because if they can't rattle you, they can't feel in control of the dynamic. Your stillness takes that away from them. There's also another layer here. Emotional calm in social situations can be misread as indifference, as standoffish, as he thinks he's too good to get emotional about this. But that's not what's happening. You just learned something they haven't yet. And that gap in emotional development can breed quiet discomfort between people. Reason 5. You are not easily influenced by pressure. Peer pressure doesn't always look like teenagers daring each other into bad decisions. In adult life, it's much quieter. It's in the expectation that you'll go along with the group, that you'll agree, that you'll follow the path that everyone else took. The same career, the same timeline, the same lifestyle choices. When you don't, when you think for yourself, when you take a different direction, when you say, "No, that's not for me," some people take it personally. It challenges something they don't always want challenged. Because if your different path turns out okay, what does that say about the pressure they felt to conform? Think about someone who passed on a safe career path to build something of their own. The people who stayed in the conventional path may root for them to fail, not out of malice, but out of a quiet need to be validated. If that person succeeds, it suggests the risk was worth taking. And that's uncomfortable for someone who never took the risk. Your ability to stand outside the current of social pressure isn't selfishness, it's sovereignty. And sovereignty in a person who isn't supposed to have it yet is threatening to those who gave theirs away. Reason 6. People compare themselves to you even if you don't care. Here's something important to understand. The comparison that damages relationships is almost never coming from you. You're not comparing yourself to anyone. You're just living your life. But in someone else's head, a very quiet and very consistent comparison is happening every single time they see you. Your apartment, your stability, your energy, your focus, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle stress. All of it is being measured against their own life in ways you are completely unaware of. And here's the painful part. You can't fix that. You can't be less successful to make someone feel better. You can't be less put together to lower the invisible bar. And honestly, you shouldn't try to. The comparison lives entirely in their mind. But the distance it creates between you and them can feel very real. They start avoiding you without fully knowing why. They feel vaguely irritated in your presence without being able to explain it. This is one of the most invisible reasons people pull away. And it has nothing to do with anything you said or did. It's a private, internal struggle that unfortunately gets projected outward onto the relationship. Reason 7. Insecurity can cause misinterpretation of your behavior. This one requires a bit of emotional honesty about how human perception works. When someone carries deep insecurity, and most people carry more than they show, they begin to interpret neutral behavior through a distorted lens. You didn't wave back quickly enough. You must think you're too good to acknowledge them. You didn't ask about their weekend. You must not value the friendship. You were quiet at the gathering. You must have been judging everyone. None of that is true. But insecurity doesn't wait for truth. It writes its own story, fills in the blanks with fear, and then holds you responsible for a narrative you didn't create. The challenge is that you'll never fully know when this is happening. You'll just notice someone getting distant or cold or strange around you and wonder what you did. And the hard answer is, in this case, you didn't do anything. Their interpretation of you is filtered through their own wound. The best you can do is remain consistent. Be genuinely who you are. Because no performance of yourself, no bending, no shrinking, no adjusting, will fix an insecurity that lives entirely inside another person. Reason 8. You are changing and evolving mentally. Growth changes a person, not just in what they do, but in how they think, what they talk about, what they're interested in, what they tolerate, what excites them. And when your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. Conversations that used to feel natural start feeling empty. Environments that used to feel comfortable start feeling small. People you used to click with effortlessly start feeling like you're from different planets. That evolution is healthy. It's actually the sign of a mind that's alive and developing. But to the people who are not going through that same evolution, your change can feel like rejection, like you think you're smarter now, like you've forgotten where you came from, like you're too good for the old crowd. Even if none of that is true. Even if you hold zero judgment toward them, the distance that growth creates can be felt as abandonment by people who aren't ready to examine their own lives. Real growth can be a lonely process in the beginning. The people who used to feel close may feel further away. But that's not failure, that's realignment. Your circle shifting isn't always loss. Sometimes it's evolution. Reason 9. Sometimes dislike is not about you at all. It's about other people's internal struggles. This might be the most liberating reason of all 9. Sometimes, and this is hard to fully absorb, someone's dislike of you has absolutely nothing to do with you as a person. They're dealing with something you can't see. A strained relationship at home, a career that feels like it's going nowhere, financial pressure they've never talked about, a grief they haven't processed, a version of themselves they deeply dislike but can't seem to change. And you just happen to walk into their life during that internal storm. Maybe you represent something they want and don't have. Maybe your energy reminds them of a version of themselves they've lost. Maybe they see in you a reflection of choices they regret. Whatever the reason, their reaction to you is the output of an internal war you are not a part of. It's not about you. It was never about you. Understanding this doesn't mean you have to become someone's emotional charity case or wait around for them to work through their battles. But it does mean you can stop internalizing it. You can stop treating their pain as proof of your unworthiness. So here's where we land. After all 9 reasons, after all the psychology and observation and reflection, here's what I want you to carry with you. Not everyone who stays quiet around you is your friend. And not everyone who criticizes you is your enemy. The world is more nuanced than that. More layered, more human. Some people will pull away from you not because of your worst qualities, but because of your best ones. Because you remind them of something they want to be. Because your peace disturbs their chaos. Because your growth moves at a speed they're afraid to match. Some people are fighting battles so deep and so invisible that even the people closest to them don't know. And sometimes that internal war gets projected outward, onto you, onto others, onto the world. That's not your burden to carry. What matters is this. Keep growing, keep moving, keep becoming more of who you genuinely are. Protect your peace without turning cold. Stay grounded without becoming distant. Be open without being naive. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to like who you're becoming. You need to respect the life you're quietly building. You need to stay true to yourself in a world that will constantly pressure you to shrink, conform, or explain yourself. Some chapters of your life will be quieter than you expected. Some friendships will drift without explanation. Some rooms will feel different when you walk in. And that's okay. Because when you finally stop measuring your worth by who stays and who leaves, by who approves and who doesn't, something settles in you. Something steady. Something that doesn't need the noise to feel whole. That's not arrogance. That's peace. And peace, real peace, is one of the rarest things a person can find in this life. Guard it.